Sales is not somebody else's problem. Everybody in your organization matters. Everybody in your organization counts. What they do has a systemic and profound effect on the bottom line, and we can show them how that works. Second thing, sales is not a 5-letter word. I hear this all the time. I'm not in sales. I'm not in sales. We all sell. Every single day, every one of us, every position we have in our organizations, everybody around us, we're all selling every day because it begins with selling ourselves. Sales internally and externally is our collective opportunity. You can go make more cold calls. That's fine. Call them, tell me how that's working out for you. Or we can work on a sales culture where everybody's engaged. And it's all about value to the customer. That's not news. We know we have to bring value to our customer. The question is, and write this one down, who in my organization, you can paraphrase, I'm okay, I'm actually not going to do a spot check. Who in my organization brings value to our customers? And if you write down the sales team, you're right, and we have work to do. Who in your organization brings value to your customers? And if it's beyond the sales team, whoever it might be, have you told them that they bring value to the customers and shown them how? There is nothing better. There is nothing better than an employee or a member of your organization who is shown in 30 seconds that what you do, what you did last week, last month, last year, had an effect on that customer saying yes. You want to fire up your organization? Show people how they count. And we start by talking about value proposition. By the way, if you don't believe me that everybody's in sales, believe Robert Louis Stevenson. He said this around 1873. I wish I could say that I invented it. I didn't. Very famous author. I'm sure you all know who he is. He said everybody lives by selling something. So a few years ago, and I have this study somewhere, and I keep saying I'm going to dig it out. A few years ago, Harvard Business Review published a study of 873 business leaders, CEOs, senior leadership, board members, whomever. What's your number one concern? Was the question. It was one question. What's your number one worry? What's your number one concern? And let me tell you what it wasn't. Nobody stood up and said, I really want more financial control and audit this year. I enjoyed that audit last year. Can we do more? And there wasn't a single CEO who stood up and said, you know, our HR manual is 10,422 pages. I want it to be 19,460. Let's go bring in some more HR folks. And by the way, I do a lot of work with HR people because in some cases, they're the best salespeople you have. When you think about the role that they play in hiring, helping you hire the best people that you have. So go back and thank your HR professional for being a partner with you. The leader doesn't wake up and say, I'm really worried because our computers are old and I need to put everything on hold and invest a few $1 million in a new IT infrastructure. That'll bring in more business. Don't think that's happening. They might think that, but they're not saying it. Number one concern of the business leader, ladies and gentlemen, is very simple. Not enough sales. How do we get more? How do we do more with what we've got? Well, you can't continue to beat up on your sales organization. Now, there's more that we can do that's creative and different, and we'll talk about that as well. The trick is not to raise the goal of the sales organization and say, you know what, I need more, your goal's doubled, and I'm sure you're motivated too. You did $1 million last year in production, here's a goal of $3 million, have at it. Happens to all of us, happened to me, and I've done it to people. I don't do it anymore. Not enough sales. Look familiar? This is, by the way, this is not Mick Jagger. This is our life as business professionals. All we do all day, it feels like, is react. React, react, react. How many of you, when you landed in Las Vegas, the first thing you did was you turned on your phone? You sat there. The minute the wheels hit the ground, and the nose wheel touchdown, you're like, woohoo, I can start looking at the 712 emails I got, of which 643 were reply all. Right? We're busy reacting. We're not busy selling. And we're not busy getting people to sell for us. Every conversation, every connection, every interaction is a sales campaign. Every single one. Now think about that statement. Multiply that times the number of people you have in your organization. Multiply that by the number of people they touch day in and day out, in and out of your organization. When you think about the exponential value of this statement, you now have a potent sales culture, a sales organization that nobody can touch. Nobody can touch you. You see, the consistently mediocre don't get this. They don't understand this. What they understand is, let's get more from the sales team. Let's make them crazy. Let's lower the percentages, raise the goal, and expect more. Not going to happen. I've been in business for 4.5 years. Started my own consulting business after I was a senior, forgot my own title, senior vice president, I guess I was, for a company called LexisNexis. Anybody ever heard of them? Legal software database company, LexisNexis. Some people still think it's the shampoo and the car company have merged. It really isn't. Because I would be the worst shampoo salesperson on the planet. Let's be very clear. Every conversation counts. The number of conversations times the number of people in your organization times the number of people they're talking to. Just think about that. Do that math. Ladies and gentlemen, that's your sales culture. That's where it begins. So, remember the Rubik's Cube? Anybody not remember it? That's when I start to get worried. So the Rubik's Cube came ashore in 1979 from Rubiksville, from what was Czechoslovakia. This was the hottest thing in the world. Anybody remember solving it, trying to solve it? I did. I threw it against the wall, broke it into a bunch of people. You tried to solve it, didn't you? I saw you raise your hand tentatively. Right. Did you solve it? No? Okay, then you and I are in the same boat. You're all right, man. All right. The Rubik's Cube was the toy. And what's really sad is that the #1 bestseller in 1980 was How to Solve the Rubik's Cube on the nonfiction list for the New York Times. Now, the Rubik's Cube is a fabulous, fabulous analogy. Everybody get fabulous? Fabulous analogy for a sales culture. You see, the idea of the Rubik's Cube was to take it from the one on the right and make it look like the one on the left, right? Go like this, constantly. By the way, anybody have a Rubik's Cube still? Anybody still have one? Go on, you can admit it, it's okay, I still have mine. I did break it, but I kept reassembling it and trying to impress people. So, when I thought about the Rubik's Cube as the analogy for the sales culture, I said to my assistant, who is about half my age, and I know I look fabulous. I got the big birthday coming up, by the way. I just want you all to know that. The big one. I look fabulous for 30, don't I? I got the big 50 coming up next month. I know you're all shocked. Somebody's thinking, really, 60? That really wasn't that funny, but I'm glad you enjoyed it. So I said to my assistant about 2 years ago, who is approximately half my age, who wasn't even born when I was in high school, and we all get to that point, we're like, uh-oh. I said, look, I want to get this thing called a Rubik's Cube. I need you to go find one so I can use it in my analogy of a sales culture. Her first question was, what's a Rubik's Cube? And I thought, oh my goodness. So we Googled it. She found a picture of it. I said, look, you're really not going to be able to find the Rubik's Cube. I don't think they even make them anymore. But go ahead. So she gets in her car and leaves my office and drives to Target. Love Target. Love it. She goes to Target, calls me an hour later. When she gets there, half an hour later, and the phone rings. I'm like, uh-oh, that's Samantha calling. She can't find the Rubik's Cubes. I'm really kind of just out of luck. Todd, yes, it's Samantha, I know. I'm at Target. Okay, what's the bad news? Well, I'm in the Rubik's Cube section. Okay. She goes, what kind of Rubik's Cube do you want? I said, the Rubik's Cube. She said, well, there's like colors and sizes and shapes and psychedelic and 3D and 4D. I said, just bring me Rubik's Cubes. Anyhow, so if y'all want a Rubik's Cube, Target, Rubik's Cube section, Todd told you where to find it. The Rubik's Cube on the left, the one that is solved, is actually an analogy for the organization that does not have a sales culture. This is an analogy for an organization that's broken. You see, every color on this Rubik's Cube represents somebody in your organization or external to your organization. A color represents a function. So we'll say sales is green, the C-suite is red, doesn't matter. Yellow is HR, blue is finance, whatever you want. Another white is maybe your external world. The problem with a Rubik's Cube that's not solved is nobody's talking. You see, everybody's saying, I'm doing my job, leave me alone. That's your job to do that. That's your job to take care of that. That's not my job. You see, the unsolved Rubik's Cube, if you think about it logically, is a sales culture. Sales campaigns, ladies and gentlemen, as we know, are not simple. There's a lot of moving parts. It's kind of like what I've seen in the room over here. It's a lot of moving parts. And what's fascinating about this is, from the day we identify our first client or the client we want to work with or close or increase or do whatever it is we want to do with that client, the number of people touching that sales campaign is infinite. So you're constantly going like this, as we used to do with the Rubik's Cube, and people with different skills are constantly coming in and out of your sales campaign. Does that make sense? You see, they're constantly interacting with you and everybody else in the process to ultimately get that client, hopefully, to say yes. And if they say no, that's okay, because we all know that no is a reason to keep selling. You don't need me to tell you that, but I just did. So think about your sales campaigns. Who's involved? You see, sales, as we know, is no longer a linear experience. It just isn't. I wish it were. It requires the input constantly of everybody in your organization, and dare I say, people outside of your organization. So the Rubik's Cube, your homework, by the way, I'm going to give you homework. Your homework is to go buy a Rubik's Cube and then understand who plays what role as you are, pardon the expression, driving down the road to get that customer deal. All right, sales culture question number one. Write this down, please. Is your organization speaking a common sales language? Do people know what the term pipeline means? Do people know what the term target list means? Do people understand the language of sales? Here's the cool part of this question. They do. You just don't know it, perhaps. And most importantly, they don't know it. Does every member of your organization, write this one down. I don't see you writing. Does every member of your organization have a line of sight to revenue? And by that, I simply mean this. Does everybody in your organization, beyond the sales team, understand how what they do counts? Remember how I opened this up. Everybody counts. You could find me the entry-level accountant, the mid-level HR person, the CEO, don't care. And I can show you, and you can show them, how what they do affects a customer's decision to buy. Nobody wakes up and says, I want to be overhead. Nobody wakes up and says, today's my day not to count. It's okay, somebody else's responsibility today. Our awesome opportunity is to show people how what they do affects the client. When we achieve that, we have a sales culture. Write this one down. You see, when I say to everybody that everybody's in sales, I don't want people to go sell. I say this to people and they go, oh, you mean I got to stop doing what I'm doing for a few hours a day and go make cold calls and come back and be like an accountant again? No. Keep being an accountant. Keep being the CFO. Keep doing whatever it is that you do. Understand that I want you to keep doing that. I would like you to think differently about it. Don't do anything different. Think differently about what you do. Mr. or Miss entry-level accountant who's working on raw material pricing, that goes into a spreadsheet, that goes to another accountant, that goes to an order department, that goes to a price list, that goes to sales, that goes to marketing, that goes to a customer, so we can spill ink on a contract. That person, where that started, had an effect on that customer's decision to say yes. Have you told them that? So your homework number 2. Did I give you one yet? What was it? Good. Just making sure you're listening. Homework number 2. When you go back to your offices, pick one person who you know won't get this, and say, here's how you count. You want to fire people up without giving them a raise? This is how you do it. Nobody wants to be overhead, ladies and gentlemen. Nobody wants to feel like they don't matter. In a sales culture, everybody counts. Third point. We're talking about this a little bit. In a sales culture, everybody in the organization knows how they impact the client. If somebody says to you in your organization, I had nothing to do with that, stop them dead in their tracks and say, yes, you did, and here's how, and thank you. Best way to get performance without giving a raise. By the way, if you want to give a raise, that's fine too. Don't say to your people, by the way, this guy Todd said, I don't have to give you a raise, I just have to make you feel good. Please don't go back and say that, because I'll get nasty emails. When I was walking around the booths yesterday, I asked myself 2 questions as I'm listening to conversations. Are you relevant? Sales cultures understand how to achieve relevancy to their customer base. But more importantly, or as importantly, great sales cultures get how everybody in the organization is relevant to the customer and to each other. Next question, are you present? Folks, think about this one. I don't mean are you physically present like, yes, I arrived in Las Vegas, I'm standing in the booth where they told me to stand for 3 days and I'm present. I was walking around the booths yesterday, and I'm not going to call anybody out, but I was paying very close attention to how people were managing their booths. And it sort of went into 2 categories. There are those that were a clump, sort of standing there, a clump. I don't want to talk to anybody. I just told to be here. Guys, this is your living, breathing, competitive manual right here in front of you. Go visit everybody. And then there were those in the booths that weren't standing next to their best friend or the other person in a blue shirt. Not to pick on the people with the blue shirts. They were engaging customers. Eye contact was dead on. They were listening. They were achieving relevancy. You see, being present makes sales. Write that one down too. That's a good one. I just thought of that. I said it before. Being present makes sales. How often do you buy from somebody who's going like this while you're talking to them? Or my favorite, hold on, I'm almost done. Yeah, go ahead and sign that order, but I just got to send this text to my girlfriend. Love that one. If you're not present, stay home. If people can't engage you and stay with you, and you can't engage and stay with them, stay home. Come back tomorrow. Presence is money in the bank. Relevance is money in the bank. So this all starts with your value proposition. So do me all a favor, if you would, please. Take out a business card. Take out a business card. Come on, do it. Do it. Do it, do it, do it. By the way, if you don't have a business card with you, get a piece of paper, draw a rectangle, put your logo in the upper left-hand corner. By the way, if you hate your logo, now's a chance to redesign it. Write your name right in the middle of it like a business card, and give yourself, by the way, the title that you always wanted. Take a second, do that. If you have a business card, ignore the previous instructions. Sales culture has people in it. Organizations with sales culture have people in it that know what they do, not what's on their card. So do something which is going to be the most painful thing of this entire conference. I'm going to ruin your day right now. And then I'm going to hopefully make it up to you. Scratch out your title. Go on, do it. I know you worked your whole life for that title. I know. Scratch it out. Scratch it out. Go right down to your pants or whatever. I hope you don't have your card on your pants, because then you got a dry cleaning bill. Scratch it out. And what are you left with? Your name. Now the question you need to ask yourself and everybody else in your organization is very simple. What do you do? And if they say, I'm in accounting, spin the wheel again, Vanna, try again. What do you do? You see, when I left LexisNexis, and I was fired. Downsizing, thank you very much, Todd, for that global sales organization you built. That's a plug for me. And there's the door, and it won't slam, too quickly. So I left LexisNexis, and I said, this is great. I'm going to go find a job. It was May of 2007. The economy was good. I got a nice severance check. And I thought, this is great. People are going to hire me because I was a senior vice president. And let me tell you, that meant exactly bupkis. Those of you who don't know Yiddish, that means nothing. So, I reached a run around saying, my name is Todd Cohen. I'm a senior level sales executive with core competency in building high-performance sales teams and delivering revenue over multiple blah, 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 blah. About 130 words into it, they were gone. They had no idea what I did. You see, we're all raised to think the sum total of our existence, work-wise, is our title. Nobody cares. Take a deep breath and just deal with it. Nobody cares. If you want to achieve relevancy, if you want to increase sales, if you want to build a sales culture, people have to know what you do. So I thought I cracked the code. About 6 months into my unplanned vacation, and I got rid of that whole big, long, 120-word thing I was saying. And then I started running around going, hi, my name is Todd Cohen, and I am a sales, and I uttered the word, ladies and gentlemen, that is right up there with the worst word I could have come up with. I'm a sales consultant. You want to see people run away like their hair's on fire? Use the word consultant. Go ahead, I dare you. Call me and let me know how it works out for you. So I learned pretty quickly not to say I'm a sales consultant because nobody knew what I did. So I thought I cracked the code. I said, well, my name is Todd Cohen, and I'm a sales, and I uttered the other word. I'm a sales trainer. The other side of their head was on fire, running away. Because you know what? People said, what do you do? So it took me a few years. And by the way, as my best friend says to me, when it comes to coming up with your value proposition, I ain't selling easy here. This takes a long time. So my value proposition right now is 4 words. My name is Todd Cohen, not that part. I build sales culture. That's it. Because in sales, what we want to do is engage people in conversation, not shut it down. When I said I'm a sales consultant, they were like, cool. And now I saw a lot of backsides going away from me. So ask yourselves the question, what do you do? Ask your people in your organizations, what do you do? And tell them their title doesn't count. You see, when people know what you do, then you play on the Rubik's Cube. Somebody says, well, I need an accountant. Well, I'm not picking on accountants, by the way. I do a lot of work with accountants as well. Doesn't tell me anything. People have core competencies and specialties that when you give them a chance to bring it out, you show them how they count and how they matter. And then you build up a charged up sales culture and a sales organization of people who know what they do counts. So it starts with you. You have to answer the question, what do you do? And your title does not count. This is not easy. I told you, this is the part where I kind of ruined the day. Because we're raised to think the title is everything. Do you think when you're retired in southern Florida, or wherever you're all going to retire to, and someone says to you, what do you do? And you say, well, I was the... They care? No. Tell them what you did. Tell them what you did. But none of us are close to retirement, hopefully. All right. Next slide, please. All right, we're going to skip the value proposition exercise because we just did it. Value proposition equals relevancy. If you would like your phone to ring more, people have to know what you do. That's where sales culture starts, with your value proposition. This is not easy. Now, you have a choice, ladies and gentlemen, right here and now. You can leave the room when this is done, and you can go back and say, I'm the regional super duper quad level 3 column 9 sales executive for division 4 subsection 9. And please, would you do business with me? Or you could say something a little bit different that gets people to want to engage you in conversation. That's your differentiator. That's your competitive edge. I know we have a lot of competitors in this room. So what? You think I'm the only sales trainer out there? My value proposition is sales culture. Pure and simple. That's it. All right. One more, please. All right. Second thing about sales culture. Just checking the time here because I want to make sure you all have plenty of time to go back in and demonstrate your new value proposition when you go back to your booths. I know you're all going to do that too, because I'm doing a spot check, by the way. I'm following you all in, and I'm going to walk up to each one and say, what do you do? Sales culture, the second key element is building your virtual team. You see, as I said a moment ago, sales is not linear. Sales does not happen by itself. Sales happens because people are selling for you, because people think of you when they hear something that reminds them of your value proposition. So here's an exercise for you. When you think about the world around you, both internally and externally, how many people know what you do, right? We've talked about that one. And how many will think of you? And how often do you connect with them? So think of your virtual team this way, right? Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3. Your Tier 1 people are people that you connect with on a weekly, daily, maybe monthly basis. These are the people that you talk to all the time. These are the people that know your value proposition. These are the people that will think of you first. When they hear of something which is related to your business, these are the people who know you the best. Do you know who those people are? Chances are you don't. That's okay. This is where the work begins. Tier 2, these are the people that you connect with on a monthly or bi-monthly basis. These are the people that are like, yeah, I remember Joe, and yeah, he's with so-and-so Truck and Rim. But what is he actually doing over there now? I'm not sure. List those people out. This is your virtual team. Step 3 of your virtual team, your Tier 3, are people these are people that you connect with every so often. These are the people that when you call them, assuming they take your call, they say, what are you doing again? You still at so-and-so? What are you doing over there now? These are the people who don't know your value proposition. As I said a moment ago, I started my business 4 years ago. I have not made a single cold call. I put people to work for me who understand my value proposition, who when they hear sales culture, sales something, they think of me because I work my virtual team. You see, I spend time every week connecting with people to make sure they remember my value proposition, making sure they remember what it is that I do, how much I love it, and then I ask them, what can I do for you? You see, I don't like to cold call, and I was raised in Xerox when cold calling was how we did it. Do you want to sell, or do you want people, or do you want people to sell for you and with you? Who's on your virtual team? By the way, this is both internally and external as well. Who out there knows your mojo and is willing to step forward for you and speak up for you and say, I know the guy you, or the gal, or the guy you have to call, and here's who he is because this is what he or she does. This is a wonderful, cathartic, and at times it's a little uncomfortable because we're required to reconnect with people. Next slide. Third component of sales culture. Do you have RP? Now, I see everybody starts to shift a little uncomfortably. It's not a medical condition. Doesn't require anything. Write this one down. Do you have? By the way, I hope you wrote down, work on my virtual team, but write this one down too. Do you have relationship portability? Do you have relationship portability? Now, I'm going to tell you a story. 2 years ago, I made at the time, very reluctant decision to go onto Facebook. How many of us are on Facebook? Now, don't answer the question. I don't really care. Actually, I do. I'm kind of curious now. I made this decision to go on Facebook. And I thought, well, you know, it's social media. It's the new thing. It'll help expand my virtual team. It'll help reconnect me with people. About 6 months into my being on Facebook, I get an email from a woman by the name of Kathleen, who apparently I went to school with Kathleen in my freshman year, first semester, 1980 at Temple University in Philadelphia. I'm not from Philly. I'm from Pittsburgh, by the way. Any Pittsburgh guys here? Pittsburgh? Yeah, six rings, huh? How about it? Count them, baby. All right. That's 6 Super Bowls for the rest of you. All right, anyhow. So I get this email from Kathleen. Todd, how are you? Where you been? I found you on a Google search. I've been thinking about you. I'm like, oh my gosh, do we have a child? Why are you writing me after 25 years? Am I a grandfather? Something I need to know here. Fortunately, that wasn't the case. Kathleen was a woman that I had become very good friends with my freshman year. She left second semester. She transferred out. Her father had been ill. She transferred to a school closer to her home up in Rochester, New York. And we lost touch. Never heard from her again. I forgot all about her. It took about 6 weeks of me emailing back and forth with Kathleen through Facebook, asking her some strategic questions, not to give myself away because I had no idea who she was. Till finally the pieces started to come together. And all of a sudden, like, oh, Kathleen, how are you? She goes, I've been telling you for 6 weeks how I am. Why do you keep asking me? So, relationship portability. By the way, today, you know what Kathleen does? She's the number 2 person at a Fortune 15 company. She will be the next CFO of said company. What I didn't do was marry her, correct? This is the one trip I haven't brought my girlfriend with me. I'm suddenly very happy about that. Thanks, tough guy. Anyhow, so Kathleen, I realized I hadn't made portable. How many relationships, ladies and gentlemen, have we made and lost throughout our professional careers who are now in places to help us? I guarantee you, as I'm standing here in front of you, it's more than you want to think about. How many Kathleens do you all have in your background? You see, I coined this term relationship portability because what organizations with great sales culture do is we encourage people to pull relationships forward with us as we go through our careers. You all know what happens. You go to your first job after school, you make friends, you go to the second job, you say, we'll keep in touch, right? Oh yeah, it's been great. 6 months later, you forgot all about them. And then you go to the next job, and the next job, and the next job, and next thing you know, you're well into your career, and you've got this whole stream of people that you haven't made portable. You haven't brought them forward with you. People that if you knew how to connect with them today and share your value proposition, make them part of that virtual team of people who think of you first. What a fabulous, fabulous addition to your Rubik's Cube. Make sense? Think about that one. Think about how many Kathleens you all have. So the next time you hear from your sales organization or you're wondering, how do I get a hold of so-and-so, or I need to network into there or get there or go there, don't cold call it, man. Think about relationship portability. Start with LinkedIn. Start with Facebook. But people have to know your value proposition. People have to be on your virtual team. Relationship portability is 4 categories. I'll make it fairly quick. Reliable and available. Feel free to write these down. These are people who know where you are. You can get them. They can get you. They take your phone call. You get their phone call. When you call them, they pick up the phone and they say, Joe, how are you? How can I help you? Are you still at so-and-so organization as the so-and-so helping people do X? Yes, I am. Thanks for remembering. Can you make an introduction for me? These are reliable and available. How many Kathleens do you have that are reliable and available? Since I went through that little exercise, I have now spent 2 hours a week for the last 2 years reconnecting with anybody and everybody I could think of. That's my virtual team. That's my external Rubik's Cube. That's my sales culture. We all can do the same thing. Second category, available but not reliable. You know where they're at, but they don't know you so well anymore. They don't know your value proposition. They may take your call, they may answer your email, but you know what? They're not going to necessarily be all that helpful. The relationship has eroded. You haven't brought them forward. Number 3, neither reliable or available. You know what this is? These are the ones that got away. And if you do find them, chances of them reconnecting with you on the first pass are not great. But we're all salespeople. Everybody's in sales. We know how to make that happen. Go build your virtual team. Start with your value proposition. Start with doing what it is that we all do and is the essential element of sales. Sell yourself. Number 4, non-existent. RPs waiting to happen. This is everybody you're going to meet from this point forward. These are all the people that you're going to have the opportunity to build a fabulous relationship with, understand their value proposition, your value proposition, and you know what? They're going to be on your virtual team, and they're going to think of you first. Why? Because they know your value proposition. Because you've connected with them, because you've built the relationship. Great sales organizations with great sales cultures, great companies with great sales cultures have unbelievable relationship portability. I've been looking at this for years. When I work with my clients and we talk about the traits of people to bring in, whether it's sales or otherwise, first question I ask is, what relationships are they bringing with them? Because I don't have the time to teach somebody everything they need to know. What relationships are you bringing forward? What relationships are you making portable? Just a little exercise. You want to write that down real quick? You can just do like a crosshatch. Upper right-hand corner are people that you would list out who are reliable and available. Upper left-hand corner, upper right-hand corner, available but not reliable. NRA, not that NRA, please. No political statements here. Neither reliable or available. And the lower right-hand corner is non-existent. Take some time and think about your relationship portability index. Who's out there that you've let go? Who currently do you connect with in a robust way that will take your call and make that referral, that will help you get to where you need to go? This is the key to a sales culture. Finally, couple closing remarks. Want to build your virtual team? Get people selling for you, get people on that Rubik's Cube, get people doing for you what you'd love them to do and you can do for them. Networking is your lifeblood. I want to give you 3 tips to networking, if I could, that you can put into use right now. 1, networking is not about you, it's about the person that you're talking to. I actually do a 90-minute networking seminar. I'm going to give you the 3 best points right now. Networking is not about you, it's about them. It's about understanding their value proposition, being present, right? Being present, being relevant, and getting to know them and giving them the platform to understand your value proposition. Number 2, networking is work, ladies and gentlemen. It's not something that we do casually. We can't do it serendipitously, and it doesn't happen overnight. So here's my homework. I'm giving you a lot of homework, huh? Pick 3 organizations, two professional, 1 personal. Get embedded in those organizations. Become part of the leadership. Join a committee. I don't care what it is. You see, people say to me all the time, Todd, I tried to network, it didn't work. Why? Well, I went to 1 meeting and nothing happened. Nobody called me and gave me orders. Well, duh. What do you expect to happen? Then you talk to the people who go to the same monthly meeting for years, and they're invested in the organization. People know them, they trust them, they're part of their virtual team. I know your value proposition, and you're the person that I think of. This is how I built my business. This is how my clients, who range from big companies with big organizations to 2-man shops, this is one of the tools in their bag, is networking correct. 3, the secret to networking is the following. This is it. End every conversation with the following line. What can I do for you? Or, if that one doesn't feel good, try this one. How can I help you? And then do what good salespeople do. Shut up. Don't talk. Stop talking. Because what's going to happen is you're going to see this look on their face. They're going to be like, whoa, this person just went to this networking thing, and they actually cared about me. What a shock. And so what will happen is most likely they'll say, thank you, nothing right now, but let's stay in touch. And then your job is to make them part of your virtual team so that they know your value proposition before your competitor. And even if they know your competitor as well, that's okay. Networking is work. Educate obsessively. Great sales cultures have imbued in their people and instilled the fact that every conversation is an opportunity to educate. Educate obsessively. Every single person in this room, I guarantee you, has an opportunity to share what they know in a serendipitous, informal, and formal platform. Don't ever say no. Do it. Educate constantly. People buy from people who share what they know, who educate them. Be a go-to group. Be smart. Be smart about your industry. Be smart about your customers. Be present. Be relevant. It's nothing more complicated than that. So, I'm going to wrap up with this. 1984. Yeah, that's me, by the way, with hair. 1984. One of us in this picture I want to point out had real hair. I'll leave it at that. That's my father on the right. And my father passed away in 1989. This is the last picture I have of us, actually, together like this. So my father was, I'm going to give you this, I'm going to give you what a lot of us say. I loved my dad. And he was a great guy. We had our differences. Goodness knows we had our challenges. Boy, we had our challenges. He was a fabulous salesperson. A lot of what I'm sharing with you today, I learned from him growing up. And I didn't even know that I was learning it as I was learning it. I write about it in my book a little bit. My father was a fabulous salesperson. I said that a moment ago. He didn't sell truck parts. He didn't sell things. He was a wedding photographer in Pittsburgh. My dad was successful because of 2 things. He had a phenomenal virtual team. Actually, 3 things. He knew every caterer, every florist, everybody connected with the bridal industry, the matrimonial industry in the entire Pittsburgh area. That was the first thing. My dad never cold called. Our phone rang constantly, much to my mother's chagrin, which kind of was fun to watch some nights. Second thing, my father had amazing relationship portability. Ladies and gentlemen, every wedding he did, he stayed in touch with every bride and every groom for as long as he could. We would run into people 20, 25 years later, their children who my father did their wedding 25 years earlier. That's how crazy it got. Number three, and maybe the most important, my dad had a phenomenal value proposition. You see, he never said to somebody, I'm a photographer, because nobody cared. It's like, oh, that's nice. You guy takes pictures. Because back then, and any schmo with a camera and a flash bulb and a screen could be a photographer, kind of like today. My father had a value proposition that resonated. It created presence. It created relevancy. And it brought him a lot of business. And it was very simple. People would say to him, Marv, his name was Marv, Big M, we used to call him, Marv, what do you do? I make people smile. That was it. And people would say, what do you mean? And they'd get into a conversation. That simple value proposition resulted in between 80 and 90 weddings a year that he would do. Pretty amazing, isn't it? Always was to me. I never realized it till I was much older and I was developing my sales culture shtick. So what have we covered today? Build your sales culture. Everybody's in sales. First thing, get your value proposition squared away. Go back to your offices, your organizations, your sales teams. Help people understand their value prop. Show them what they do counts and what they do matters. Second thing, work on your virtual team. Who out there is selling for you? Who out there knows what you do and will think of you first? Start listing it out. Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3. 3, think about your relationship portability. How many Kathleens do you all have that are in a position to connect you? I promise you, as I'm standing here, you all have more than you ever will realize. Get to work. Thank you very much. Build your sales culture.
What's the big secret?
I was waiting. Who asked? Who asked the question? Y'all want to hear the secret of sales? You got to sit back down again. The secret to sales. Here it is. Everybody's coming like running back in. Thanks for remembering. The secret to sales is nothing more than this. Pick up the phone, and there you have the secret of sales. In one fell swoop, you demonstrate your value proposition, you demonstrate and build your virtual team, and you create relationship portability in one fell swoop. Any questions other than the secret of sales? Thank you very much. Have a great show.